So please tell me about the book and the process that it took you to start it and to get it published in such a beautiful form.
Well, it took us over 2 years to travel the province of Ontario, meeting all of the growers and seeing what they grow and tasting their produce and just being inspired by everything. And as a food writer, it wasn't difficult to put it all together. The difficult part was when it came to produce the book. We had way too much material, so what to take out, what to put in, what to keep. Everything in the book is random because it had to be that way. There were so many great farmers that needed to be in the book and so many great recipes that needed to be shared. So there's really not a lot of logic to the order of things. Even the pictures, it's just the best, most inspiring pictures. So to me, it's an irresistible collection of 2 years of really getting our elbows into the dirt of local food in Ontario. We had a lot of fun doing it.
Fantastic. And what did you think about Perth County when you made your visit here for your book?
Well, I love Perth County because you have a really strong local sensibility towards everything that you do. You've got businesses that are focused on local. You've got an organization like Slow Food, one of the strongest conviviums in Ontario that is focused on local. And so when you come here, you really get that sense of community. But you know what? It's not surprising because this is really a community where agriculture is number one. So it's really nice that you still maintain that as being really important, because in a lot of other areas they've sort of moved on, which is really sad, which is really makes me panic, and that's why I do what I do, because we really can't lose the not only local food but what it does, the sense of community that it brings. So.
And what's your favorite thing to eat at this time of year?
Oh, Stratford.
Here we go. On cue. Look at those.
Okay.
Wow.
I know.
Those
Aren't they
beautiful.
amazing? I just can't, it's just, I mean, you can't resist.
Excellent.
They're just so amazing.
Well, enjoy your day today here at the Slow Food Sunday Market, and thanks so much for coming.
I'm pleased to introduce a visitor to our market today. It's Lynn Ogryzlo, who's a fantastic writer who's been traveling around Ontario for the past 2 years, going from county to county and finding the most exemplary producers in every area, and then matching the producer with an amazing recipe. And she's come here today, and in her book, I believe there's no less than 5 producers who are featured at this market, which would include Soiled Reputation, Perth Pork Products, Caveman Crops, Montforte Dairy, and more. So she's here signing and selling her wonderful book, and she's also going to talk to us a little bit about a challenge that she's presenting to all of us, which is called the $10 Challenge. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Lynn Ogryzlo.
Thanks, Steve. Hi, thank you for welcoming me here to the Slow Food Market in Stratford. I think this is the one and only Slow Food Farmers Market in Ontario, so I'm really excited to be here. A little known fact is that I was the president of the Niagara Toronto chapter of Slow Food and up until 1999, and so I continue the work of Slow Food through the only thing I know how to do, and that's to write. So this is our 3rd book. I say our, my husband John is the photographer, and he's responsible for the great pictures throughout the book. And what we do with our books is we write about growers, because I think that every farmer in Ontario that's growing food for me to eat is my hero, because they risk it all every single day to feed us. And I think if the boot were on the other foot, I don't know if I would have the courage to do what they do. So I'm really happy they do. And sometimes you have to think of the alternative. If they weren't growing the food that we eat, what would we be left with? What would we be eating? And that alternative scares the heck out of me, and it makes me panic, and it makes me do what I do, which is to try to educate more and more people on local food. The big message to the Ontario table is that if we can convince every household in Ontario to spend $10 a week on local food, we'd have $2.4 billion in our local economy. That's a huge number. So you can think of the flip side. I mean, if that didn't inspire you, the flip side of that is that if you're not buying local, your money is leaving the community. $2.4 billion it's like a cut on your hand that bleeds blood. Our money is bleeding out of our community. So If you're inspired by the positive message or afraid by the negative message, I've given them both to you. But it's really, it's really exciting. A lot of us don't really realize what that means. I was in California, and there's a little town down there, and I wish I could remember the town. I'm sorry I can't. But they had funny Monopoly money made, and it was in $2 denominations. So if you wanted to shop at the farmer's market, you'd go to the bank and buy your money, and you would shop at the farmer's market, and then the vendors here would take the money to the bank and get cash for it. So they thought this was a really good way to show the value of local food and the purchasing power that consumers have to spend their money locally. What they didn't realize was at the end of the experiment, at the end of the season, people were cashing in this money, but it was not only farmers. It was hairdressers. It was car repair shops. It was the local corner store. So it was a really great experiment to show how your money circulates within a community, because you might spend it at with the farmer at the market, but he in turn has to spend it somewhere, and he chooses to spend it locally, whether he's fixing his tractor, whether he needs to buy something from the store. He makes sure that he spends locally, and so the money circulates within the community. So if you buy from the farmer's market, you're actually supporting your entire community. If that money didn't circulate to the hairdresser, to the gas station, to all of these local shops, you know what? You probably don't realize it here in Stratford because you have such an amazingly vibrant downtown area. But how many downtown cores are just filled with empty storefronts? That's what happens when we don't buy local. And for me, it's all about food, because I grew up with food. When I was growing up, I'm Italian. When we were growing up, we used food to celebrate a birth, to mourn a death, for a wedding, for a christening. We used food. If the neighbor down the street was sick, we would make something and bring it. When people came over, we would always sit at the kitchen table, not the living room. We'd sit at the kitchen table and we'd bring out food. So for me, food was a way to show that you care. Food was a way to interact. When the neighbors got together to, well, we're Italian, we didn't build fences, it would be concrete, right? Build a concrete curb or something. You know, then at the end of it, the families would all get together and we'd share food and we'd break bread, and we grew all of our own food. And at that time, the people who worked on farms were not some foreign people who lived on a trailer in the back of a farm somewhere, you know, sort of those people that are separate from us. They were actually people in the community, my neighbors. They would all work on the farms, and they'd bring seconds home, and we would bake and preserve and do all of that stuff. And we had such an amazingly rich life. And I had no idea until many, many, many years later how poor we were. But as children growing up, we never knew that because we had such a rich life around food. So now here I am today, many, many, many decades later and a few generations later, and I see how the world has changed. And for me, when I think of the alternative to growing your own food or buying direct from a farmer, I start to panic because I see all of the disease like obesity and diabetes and cancer. And I just want to shout on the top of the highest building that there is a better way. And I know that everyone here, I'm probably speaking to the converted, but the better way is just to grow your own food, to buy from the farmer's market, and to buy locally, because that's how we're all going to prosper. So this is the Ontario table. We launched on Wednesday at Nathan Phillips Square Farmers Market, and we have a tablecloth here that we're taking right across the province, from Ottawa to Thunder Bay to Windsor and everywhere in between. And everyone who buys the book, we are going to have them sign it. The farmers will sign in green. Local food organizations like Slow Food will sign in red, and all of the consumers that are in support of local food will sign in black. So at the end of the season, we're going to do the math and see how close we come to that $2.4 billion, all in local food. So thank you for coming. Please buy from the farmers markets. There's a number of farmers here. And one of the neat things that is happening today is that when people buy a book, they're now having the farmers sign it. So there's Brendan across there that will sign his story, Anthony John here that will sign his. I know that there were more farmers here that will sign. So you can spend your summer collecting signatures of the farmers in the book. Thank you for coming.
Lynn, for being here, because it's really special. It's as special to buy product from the people who grew it as it is to buy a book directly from the person who wrote it. So thanks for coming today, and all the best on your book tour.